For us to look at what the papers are reporting, the Nation newspaper has as a banner headline, Strategies for Tinubu's Victory in 2027 by Yewatda. Party chair, young people now own ruling party. E-registration targets 10 million members. Nigerian Tribune, abduction of 177 worshippers. Kaduna governor pledges rescue of victims. Atiku Obi knock government. Can affected communities upbraid police, local government boss. Untold story of Kurmi Wali kidnap. Next is the Blueprint newspaper. Ubasani, Kaduna State government security agencies will ensure safe return of 166 Kajuru abductees. Can councils on crisis communication demands rescue of hostages. List of kidnapped persons released. And next is the Daily Trust. Kaduna abduction, the denial that failed. The Daily Times is next. Police make U-turn, confirm 177 church worshippers kidnapped in Kaduna on Sunday. This Nigeria, politics of things. Labour Party leadership tussle. Court okays Usman Abure cakes. Heads for appellate court. INEC ordered to list Nenadi Group. Party loses bid to join FCT February 21st. Council polls. The Guardian newspaper, Labour Party leadership verdict alters opposition politics ahead of 2027. The Punch newspaper, counterterrorism campaign, federal government moves to fast-track trial of 5,000 insurgents. Military, police, NSCDC budget 204 billion naira for operations in 2026. Security agencies to harvest DNA of notorious terror kingpins. Court issues bench warrants against Turji Bello, linked suspect. Next is the Hope newspaper. Troops uncover corpses of 20 terrorists in Borno mass grave. Insurgents killed in Timbuktu Triangle operations. And last but not least is the Sporting Life. Bronze is not a trophy. Slams Eagles third place celebration. Talking about Sunday, Oli said. All right, then I'll be doing this with Ria and, of course, in-house analyst, be able to show me. Let me start off with you, Ria. We have the APC chairman, Yewatda, saying that, revealing the strategies, for Tinubu's victory in 2027, some of which includes the appointment of women at the top echelon, giving them appointments. The other is to ensure that people, get registered, targeting over 10 million. And then some of the projects that the government is embarking on, the policies and reforms like this, student loan, etc. Okay. So, well, it is a party releasing its strategies. Well, and we do not know what other
Of course, other parties will definitely do that as well, but it's not far-fetched. Right. We cannot deny the fact that in one way or the other, this administration, has taken a lot of bold moves. For me, I say bold moves because we talk about the subsidy removal. That was something the president came and just took, the bull by the horn. When other presidents were talking about it, he made it happen. So yes, it's good for them to say this, but one thing I want them to really highlight on, is just to make sure that we look at the safety of Nigeria. We're speaking about the economy yesterday. We see 4.4%. IMF is predicting, our economy is doing well. The only thing that is bothering us is our insecurity. And that's why whenever we speak on things like this, I'm crying to the federal government, everybody that is in charge of this, let's just make sure that we can have our citizens safe. In terms of 2027, it's going to be a movie. That's what I always say, because that election is going to be a really tough election. Right. Joash Amopitan, there's a whole lot he has to do in terms of making sure that election is credible. Yes, APC is coming out to say, these are the things that we have done. These are the hopes that, we hope for. And we're sure that, Mr. President is going to win again. But most importantly, we need to look at the citizens as well. What are they saying? Just security. I feel like for you to build any solid economy, the most important thing is that your citizens have to be secure. That's so in as much as we're looking at infrastructure, we're looking at other things to do. Let's also really tackle that insecurity. Absolutely.
So one of the things that he also said is the fact that he's saying, we do not want to hear, yes, I'm a technocrat. As long as you're appointed, whether you're a minister or anything, we want you to also be involved in the electioneering process in terms of campaign and all of that. So he's speaking to, some people who are holding a ministerial appointment saying, no, I'm a technocrat, I'm not a politician, but he's saying that that's not the route the party plans to go this time around.
Yeah, he's actually right. If you look at the fact that if you're appointed a minister to serve your country, then you must believe in that government. You must believe in the policies. Right. And even being a technocrat, you must have had access, to discussions and policy, documents and other interactions explaining what government is trying to achieve. So therefore, you should be in a position to amplify the position of government on issues, the achievements, and trumpet, you know, what they've done to the people. So you cannot sit and say, look, I'm only brought in to come and address, you know, fix the economy. Now, how are you fixing the economy? You need to explain to the people.
That's right.
And that is quite very important. It's part of the whole electioneering process. People need to understand what the government has done, what the government has achieved, and what is left to be done, so that people can make up their mind on whether the government has done enough to warrant a second term. So technocrats cannot just say, I'm a technocrat. You need to join and explain issues.
Absolutely. Let's move on to this Nigeria, and the same thing for the Guardian newspaper, who is saying that Labour Party leadership tussle, court okays Usman, Abure kicks, heads for appellate court, INEC ordered to list the Nadi group, party loses bid to join FCT February 21st council polls. The same thing for the Guardian newspaper, saying that the Labour Party leadership verdict alters opposition politics ahead of 2027. We've seen Obi leaving the party, you know, because they felt they could not resolve the problem. Now he is left, and then looks like whatever the thing that he expected is now happening. But the Abure faction is kicking, saying that this is a misinterpretation of the judgment or the ruling of the Supreme Court, that he was sworn in again as the chairman, you know, of Labour Party. You know, all of these, you know, coming together. We do not know.
Back and forth. Of course, we do not know, but Abure was never going to put hands down. That's something that, you know, we already knew. For the Labour Party, I feel like the way they deal with their internal issues just shows the whole world, you know, if they say that they want to, you know, govern Nigeria, you cannot govern a small party like Labour Party. You know, you even had people leaving. You had Peter Obi, who was known as a Labour Party person, even leave. So then how do you expect Nigerians to trust you? And when we speak about this opposition, I think sometimes they forget, you know, we need a formidable opposition. Nigeria is not a one-party system. But when they themselves, they cannot fix their home. They say when two elephants fight, who suffers? The ground suffers. The fact that one person doesn't want to come down for one person, it scatters at the end of the day. You know, I think there's one thing in the Bible where they were saying, God said, you know, the person should cut the child. There was something like that. Like
the Solomon story.
Exactly.
The King Solomon
Do you understand?
Story.
So when people will not come down for one person, everything will just clash. And I feel like 2027 is around the corner. It's almost here, actually. In 2025, we were saying it's almost here. But now it's just, you know, a stone throw away. If they're not able to fix that party, if we are still having, the Abure-led faction, we're having the Usman-led faction, they're not able to come to a final conclusion. How do you not want to beat a party like APC that is putting their house together? And then again, we may see more defections from the Labour Party.
Well, so many defections have actually happened.
We may see more,
There's
actually.
a conversation in the ADC, like, okay, is it possible that Obi will now have to return to the Labour Party? But it's not Uhuru yet. Following that.
It's
because he has not even
strange.
picked up the ADC card in the first
It's
place.
quite very strange. I mean, Obi was the national leader who presided over the meeting that created the Nnamdi Usman's caretaker committee. Only faced with the challenge, you know, from the Abure faction, only to end up abandoning them. Now and then join another political party, ADC. So how would he?
Well, it's not his first time. He's actually been moving from one place to another.
But the problem there, the problem there is when you cannot, because he got tired, according to Nnamdi Usman, that Obi got tired of the internal wrangling and all of that. He lost hope, and then he had to leave the party to join the ADC.
Why create the
the funniest thing, the question to now ask is, if you have a party that is not even up to maybe 5 million, 10 million generally, and then you're not able to resolve the problem.
That's the
How do you now resolve a Nigerian problem that is perennial, that is existential, and you know that you have different people different food for you to fry, and so is it going to abandon Nigeria if you become president?
For me, that has been my only problem. You know, the fact that you're moving from one place to another, you don't fix something and then you go to the next thing.
On a jocular note, as he jackpot from Labour Party, maybe he will jackpot of Nigeria.
You say, well, your problem is too much.
Let me just this
interesting times ahead. All right, then the Punch newspaper, as well as the Punch newspaper talking about counterterrorism campaign. Federal government moves to fast-track trial of 5,000 insurgents. So military, police, and NCDC budget 204 billion naira for operations in 2026, and this has to do with I've forgotten the name really, but it's a program that is actually created, which should be held in Kenji in Niger State, if I can remember, and that is supposed to expedite the trial of terrorists, those who are terrorists who have been convicted. This is the phase of that particular, program to expedite justice on terrorism.
Of course, and that's when Castina was telling me that they are trying to, release some terrorists and give them amnesty. I'm not understanding, what are you really saying? Like, these are people that cause harm on people's lives. These are people that do things without even thinking. These are people without emotion. So if we get these people, justice must be served.
That's right.
I've said it a lot of times. There was something that happened in Ghana where J.J. Rollins, everybody that was a criminal, he took them out.
Yeah.
And I know
that,
yes, and I know that it may be like a very harsh, way to go. But at the end of the day, it seems like the more we speak, the more these terrorists become bolder. The more we are thinking of negotiation with them. I think that at this point, we should be making bold steps. When these people are caught, the needful should be done. Because when they abduct people, they do not think twice. And I feel like if we continue fueling these people, we continue just giving them the fact that, oh, we are scared. I see conversations where we'll have a lot of big, politicians. I'm not going to mention them. Say, oh, let us have conversations with what? A criminal? So I feel like when it comes to terrorism, when these people are caught, justice should be served.
Absolutely. So 5,000 of them, it's a phase. That's the National Counterterrorism Center, which it aims to address significant backlog of cases currently held in pretrial detention facilities across the country. When they did the first phase, we had human rights activists saying that it was not transparent and all of that. But ever since, they've been including international observers, local observers, and also CSOs to witness the trial, the expeditation of what's it called, the terrorism trial that the federal government has been involved in for a long time.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think at a point in time they had about 983 or 980 cases in court, and they secured over 930 convictions. So for me, that's a significant improvement. If you look at the situation we found ourselves in, with the judiciary, the courts are overwhelmed with so many cases and all that, and we're at the same time trying to resolve this issue of trial of terrorists. So for me, just like the misinformation, I will describe it. That's my personal interpretation of what the Katsina State Commissioner for Home Affairs, who compared the situation in a war situation where prisoners are exchanged, with this situation. They are not the same thing. There are prisoners being exchanged, between Russia and Ukraine, but not people who were actually convicted by the courts. They remain in prison. So therefore, there's no basis for that comparison to start with. There should be no amnesty for those who have been tried, processed through the criminal justice system, leading to conviction. We should think about the victims. What about justice for the victims?
And for me as well, Mr. Shomi, I'm looking at the families of the people. Imagine giving an amnesty or letting someone go. That person has killed your family members. That person has done, really bad things to your family members. How are you going to feel about it? I say that sometimes we say things and it seems like we are fueling these people, because even that conversation about Castina as well, it was uncalled for. Because why do you want to release these people? What makes you feel like they've changed?
What about the soldiers?
Yeah.
What about the soldiers who lost their life in the process of arresting these terrorists?
One thing is that when we do all of this and then we're able to arrest the terrorists, I think the question should also be, who are the sponsors of these terrorists? Because it's one thing to try them, it's another thing for you to sentence them, and another thing for you to be able to establish where they're getting this funding from. And one of the reasons why we're having the former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, and a host of others who had been going in and out of trial to establish how this terrorism financing has been. But I'm not sure, are we really making a headway when it comes to the fight against terrorism?
I feel like we are making a headway, but oftentimes we are not following the problem from the root, and that's because we are not dealing with the main people financing these people. You see the people that, they are giving money to do the job, but you're not dealing with the person, because that's the most important person. If you get that person that is financing them, Ibrahim, sometimes the kind of ammunitions these people have, even the police officers don't have it, even the soldiers don't have it. So you wonder, where did they get the money to buy it? Oftentimes we've seen a sitting governor say, I know where these people are. Like, we had an interview with a guest that said he was somewhere where they were mentioning a person who was financing terrorism. And I asked him, I'm like, at what point do we start speaking? At what point do we start getting the orgas of this thing? Because from when you get the orga pata of this, that's when you can now deal with the people, like the people that they are financing. So I feel like we're even going about it the wrong way, Mr. Shomi, if you ask me.
Well, if you actually look at the situation, there seems to be the political will, which hitherto was lacking. I mean, for the first time, we have not just a former minister, we have two former ministers, right in the radar now. We have a former Attorney General of the Federation, currently
Minister of Justice,
currently being, you know, not only investigated but being tried, you know, allegations of terrorism. Nobody's saying he's guilty or is innocent. No. The fact of the matter is we've never had that political will to do that. So at least something is changing. We are beginning to show some form of readiness, you know, to deal with this insecurity problem in our country.
And this Malami case as well, everybody is waiting to see the end of it, because Mr. Shomi, oftentimes we hear cases like this and then it goes down the drill, but everybody's eyes is there, because what happens with this case, if he's guilty and he definitely faces the law, will set a precedence, you know, for other cases like this.
We still have some papers to talk about. Let's move on to the Hope newspaper, and then we see troops uncover corpses of 20 terrorists in Borno mass grave. Insurgents killed in Timbuktu Triangle operations. And also the Joint Task Force Northwest rescues 62 hostages, neutralizes bandits in Zamfara, as well as Kebbi. So this is also, what's it called, emphasizing the fact that our prosecution against war, our war against terrorism is actually yielding results, because some people said, all of the bombings, the area surveillance and the bombings and all of that is not killing the terrorists. But then for the troops to be able to uncover 20 terrorists, fleeing terrorists who buried their fallen non-state actors, it goes to show that, yes, casualties are being recorded on the side of the enemies of Nigeria.
And of course, we want to see more casualties like this, because we need these people totally eradicated. The reason why people say that, oh, we're not seeing anything happening, is because the more, okay, I'll put it this way. These people, some of them are actually losing their lives. We're actually getting them. But as we're getting them, more are coming. So oftentimes we're reporting the more that is happening and not, you know, the ones that have been gotten down. So I feel like in our fight for insecurity, in our fight against terrorism, we need to go harder. You know, I feel like we've been using soft measures, but this is time where we really go harder and fight it. Because, Ibrahim, I said earlier on, an economy that is suffering from insecurity to be very difficult for it to grow. We talk about investor confidence. You know, how do we want people to be confident in Nigeria? We see our president always going around, oh, Nigeria is the marketer of Nigeria. But then how do you really want to market Nigeria if you wake up every morning, something has happened in Katsina, something has happened in Kano? So yes, we are getting this terrorists, but I feel like we need to do more to make sure that we do not wake up and have these conversations of, you know, people have been killed.
So there is a macro way of looking at this fight against insecurity. We see the federal government doing everything, procuring ammunitions, having bilateral relations, you know, getting things to, getting the boots on the ground, and then the roles of the subnationals, you know, in terms of state police creation. I'm not sure whether we've actually stalled that. I mean, something has stalled that conversation. We, following the deployment of forest guards, you know, some of them even killed in some part of the southwest. How far-reaching is the measures we're putting in place to ensure that we fight against the terrorists? Is it yielding better results?
In the first instance, we are acquiring new platforms.
That's right.
Just a couple of days ago, the Minister of Defense, you know, actually made it very clear that we are acquiring 24 attack, you know, aircrafts, you know, from Italy. Prior to them, we've acquired some helicopters, Augusta helicopters. We've also acquired Tucano's platforms, you know, Super Tucano platforms, you know, from the Americans. There's no doubt about it. We are also acquiring drones, not only surveillance drones, but some attack drones. What we don't know is whether we have the FPV drones. That's the first person view drone. We don't know about that yet. But the fact of the matter is this administration is putting enough resources into the military. I think we have a record budget, you know, for defense this very year. The other aspect in relation to your question is about the state police. Again, the National Assembly have done their own part. You know, they've passed it on to the state houses of assembly, because they need to third houses of assembly to approve it. It's not as easy as that. There's also the complexity. You know, you have to look at, they have to work out the modalities. How would the state police, when created, relate to federal police? What are the safeguards to ensure that they're not being abused? And how would they be funded and all that? All this have to be worked out before the states, houses of assembly.
But Mr. Shomi, you don't think it's taking such a long time? When we understand the importance of state policing, don't you think that we are overstretching?
It's taking some time. There is no doubt about it. So the states, houses of assembly need to expedite action on whatever they're doing to work out the complexities, you know, the modalities, and then so that we can.
That's right.
Forest guards as well. You know, we spoke about forest guards.
Absolutely. Let's move on to a step back towards the Nigerian Tribune, and this has to do with health-related matters. And I believe that it affects, you know, not just those who are in government, not those who are just working, it also affects some of us on this table. If you look at the lower part of the newspaper, saying health, sleeping less than 7 hours daily quietly shortens life. That's according to study. It's a known knowledge. And then someone like me will wake up at 3 a.m. and then
I was just about to say that. Do we even have enough sleep?
I won't go to bed. I won't go to bed until, let's say I try to go to bed early, 10 p.m. Or maybe 11 p.m. trying to see what the latest news is all about. But how do we? I wanted to ask, how do we mitigate or how do we
balance it? How do we come
are not going to lose our jobs.
Of course, but you cannot lose your job, but you cannot also lose your life.
Your life, which is very, very
which
key
is
in
very
all of
important.
this.
And that's why when we speak about things like this, I'll take you back to Ghana. There was this fantastic journalist, Kobla Dumour. He used to work here, and then he joined the BBC. Right. And, he used to put in a lot of work. Like, everybody knew Kobla Dumour. Right. He even has an award, the Kobla Dumour Award, because of the great things that he has done. But he was burnt out at some point. And that's why I say to people, yes, you love your job, you want to make money, but you cannot enjoy money if you're sick, and you cannot enjoy money if you're dead. So whatever you do, that 7 hours sleep is quite important. For we journalists, we wake up at 3 a.m. I wake up at 3 a.m. I know the time I leave the office, but I often try to balance it. Another thing I feel like, when you feel like your body is talking to you, oftentimes we don't listen. We're chasing something. We forget that we're not even leaving this world with that thing that we're chasing. So we need to understand that when your body is telling you that you can't anymore, it is time to retire. And I feel like sometimes greed, you see a lot of people, they've just collapsed. Stress, we don't even check our stress level. You don't sleep, you're out every day hustling for your daily bread.
Take it easy.
It's crazy.
So the thing is, it's very key. Sleeping is very, very important, because one thing is, sometimes you're nursing certain ailments, or you're tired, you're feeling some way, you're using certain drugs, and it's not working. But the thing is, when you go to the hospital, the doctor will give you, certain drugs which will just make you sleep. And by the time you wake up, it is that sleep that has cured the ailments, not the drug that you've probably taken, which just be a placebo.
Absolutely. I mean, when you are tired, you are tired. There's no doubt about it. And it's quite a fact that people need to sleep at least 7 hours a day. The issue is how you do it, whether you do it straight stretch, or whether it's slitted one way or the other, depending on the nature of the job you're doing. There are people who would wake up very early, but later in the day, they will have siesta or something to balance it all up. The most important thing is always to check your blood pressure. It's quite very, very important to avoid sudden death. So once you check your blood pressure, you are able to manage it, work around it, and then have enough rest, particularly when you are off duty. Then it's important also to take a break at times. Take a break and go on vacation.
I think even for young people as well, it's very important to check the BP, because oftentimes we say that, because you're young, you're not checking. But I check my BP. I'm young, but I check. Because oftentimes you're not sure. It may be low, it may be high. You never know.
Absolutely, especially people who are in a relationship, they should always check their BP. All right, then let's move on to the sporting life. Olise, bronze is not trophy. Slams Eagles' third place celebrations. Looking at Olise, he blamed Osimhen for the tantrums that was actually played, that was displayed, on the pitch when we had a match with. What was this other team that we had match with at the time, where Osimhen was blamed, and then Lukman was saying that, he had to handle it maturely and all of that. So it's saying that bronze should not be what we should be celebrating, because we had this team, but we lost it in the process.
But at least we brought back something, and oftentimes I feel like the way he's speaking is a way of being unappreciative. Yes, we want the best. I want the best, but imagine if they came back home with nothing. I think that we also need to give our Super Eagles some accolades. We saw the way they played. They did a fantastic job. It wasn't just meant to be, but we should not castigate them that they were not able to bring that cup home. At least we were able to see something. So I feel like this is a very insensitive comment. Being on the pitch is not a joke. He should have joined them on the pitch. It's not easy.
No, it was a super.
I know, but it's not. I get it. But it's not easy. Let's give them the accolades. At least they brought something back. Because when we do this, it also kills morale as well.
But the thing is, Olise, wasn't saying that we didn't do well, but we could have probably, lifted the ultimate trophy, and because our players could not take over or guard against their. What's it called? Their anger, manage their anger.
I don't think it was that actually.
Which actually played out, on the pitch between Osimhen, when he started, backing at his teammates.
No, I don't agree with his viewpoint on that. I mean, many people won't. The best match of that competition, of that tournament, it's adjudged to be Nigeria, Morocco, match, you know, and then it was quite clear that a lot of things were wrong with that match. We saw how Nwabali, our goalkeeper towel, was being tampered with because the goalkeepers need the towel, you know, to clean their hands to ensure that the hands are not slippery, they can hold properly onto the ball.
Right.
So we saw a lot of things happening, which CAF is yet to punish, you know, Morocco for, you know, being done by the ball boys and also their reserve players. So it was also clear that the officiating of that match, you know,
the whole thing in Morocco wasn't handled well.
So there are a lot of issues around it. They want, in relation to Victor Osimhen's tantrum, that ended. After that, they've gone ahead to win another match before losing to Morocco.
Even during the tantrum, they actually won the match.
No, I think the boys did well. I think they actually did well.
All right, then that's